back to Ad America TV. Hi, I'm Maya Trainer. I'm one of the guests here at Ad America, and we welcome our audience joining us online. We truly hope that you are doing well and staying safe amidst this outbreak. Well, anyway, for those of you who are first timers here, hi, welcome to Ad America TV for the first time. Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young generations of Indonesia to learn more about the United States. We have temporarily moved to a solely digital platform so you can enjoy our program from the comfort of your own home and have fun the curve of COVID-19. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment box below, and our panelists will answer them later in the seminar. Now, in this episode, we will be having a very interesting discussion. It is titled, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. A friendly reminder for all of you as continuation of our 10th anniversary celebration and celebrating 4th of July, we are having a very special activity with a giveaway this month. And in this giveaway, we are giving out a set of content creator package. How exciting. So make sure to stay tuned till the end of this event because that's where I'll be sharing with you all on how to join. In the meantime, I'm going to break the ice a little bit with our social media quiz. All right, so our question of the day is, what was the first professional baseball club in the United States? I will repeat the question one more time. Listen carefully, all right? What was the first professional baseball club in the United States? Is it A, New York Yankees, B, Cincinnati Red Stockings, C, Atlanta Braves, or D, St. Louis Brown Stockings? You can participate this quiz through our social media comment section and stay tuned till the end of this event to find out if you got the answers right. And now, without further ado, please welcome our moderator for today, Mas Antonius Reynaldo.
Hai Maya, terima kasih. Selamat datang dan selamat malam semuanya di Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Welcome and good evening. Welcome to Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Ini adalah program Ad Amerika di mana kita akan berdiskusi tentang baseball di malam hari ini. Kita sudah ada berbagai pembicara yang tentunya sangat menarik untuk berbicara tentang baseball malam hari ini. Kita akan langsung perkenalkan saja satu persatu. Pertama, aku akan panggil Jerry Rahman, catcher. Boleh mungkin Jerry perkenalkan dirinya sedikit?
Posisi saya catcher, asal dari Bandung, Jawa Barat. Sekarang saat ini bermain untuk tim PON Jawa Barat. Pernah bermain juga di Asian Games dan SEA Games yang kemarin 2019 dan 2020. Segitu aja kali ya.
Oke, terima kasih Jerry. Kita juga kedatangan salah satu teman timnya Jerry. Kita ada Hakim. Hakim, boleh ceritakan tentang dirinya sedikit? Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Halo semua, nama saya Hakim. Saya dari Jakarta. Saya juga main baseball di college baseball di sekolah namanya Lyon College di Arkansas. Saya juga pernah main PON untuk Lampung 2016 dan saya pernah main timnas di Asian Games 2018 dan SEA Games 2019 dan sekarang juga main untuk PON tim Lampung.
Oke, terima kasih Hakim. Dan malam ini kita juga kedatangan dua pembicara asal Amerika Serikat. We have two American baseball fans with us here tonight. First, I would like to ask Nathan, if you would please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Selamat malam, nama saya Nathan Austin. Saya pejabat di Kedutaan Besar Amerika Serikat. I am now too old to play baseball. Unlike these two young men, handsome young men, but when I was younger, I used to play baseball, and now I am just a big fan and happy to be here and talk about it. Thanks a lot for having us.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. And last but not least, we also have Daniel. If you would please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel. I'm from the Bay Area, California. I grew up a huge baseball fan, played Little League, played high school, and I'm here today to talk to you about how much I love baseball.
All right, thank you very much. I think we should start, before we start the discussion, talking about specific baseball, I think it's fun to ask each and one of you guys how you got into baseball. Maybe we'll start from Hakim. So Hakim, how did you get your start in baseball?
Saya dulu tuh main baseball sejak umur 4. So I played when I was like 4 years old. Ikutan main di Senayan di GBK, main T-ball, terus Little League. Terus saya pernah jadi pindah ke Dubai pernah. I moved to Dubai when I was after 6th grade and also played there. And then I went to a baseball academy in Canada after that because I wanted to play baseball. And sorry about that. And I went to play JUCO ball in Southern California, and then now I'm in Arkansas playing baseball. So that's pretty much my journey.
Alright, that's really good to hear. Berarti memang Hakim memang sudah dari kecil sudah sering main baseball.
Iya.
Sudah sering
Keluar
Indonesia
dari dulu.
main baseball ya.
Iya, udah.
Oke. Mungkin berikutnya kita tanya Jerry. Jerry, gimana awalnya kamu mulai bermain baseball dan apa yang sudah kamu dapatkan dari baseball gitu?
Ya, jadi awal main itu kurang lebih kelas 3 SD. Waktu itu saya sekolah SD, habis itu saya harus tinggal kelas di SD. Saya tinggal kelas, terus akhirnya saya dipertemukan dengan baseball dari orang tua saya. Habis itu saya main baseball, dan sejak kelas 3 SD sampai dengan sekarang saya tidak pernah berhenti main baseball. Saya melewati PON 2 kali dan melewati pertandingan internasional, championship internasional, mungkin 2 kali SEA Games dan Asian Games. Sangat menarik sih, dan mayoritas pemain baseball yang main dari dulu sampai sekarang itu ada di timnas gitu. Jadi pembinaan usia dini itu sangat penting. Jadi kita semua itu main dari kecil, ya, anak kecil. Ada juga yang beberapa yang sudah besar main baseball. Tapi mostly saya dan Hakim itu main baseball mungkin dari kelas SD-an juga, kayak gitu. Dan buat saya baseball it's my life ya, maksudnya pelajaran-pelajaran hidup yang saya dapatkan ya dari baseball juga gitu. Dan banyak sekali prestasi-prestasi yang bisa saya banggakan. Kayak gitu.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Jerry. Berarti memang kalian, Hakim dan Jerry, memang kalian sudah bermain dari kecil ya, dan mungkin Jerry dapat banyak pelajaran juga dari baseball, dan mungkin Hakim juga, tapi apa yang paling penting gitu yang kalian dapatkan dari baseball? What is the most important thing that you have learned from baseball? Mungkin dari Hakim dulu.
Baseball is a game of life juga sih, kayak apa? It's similar to your life. Ada lessonnya, like apa namanya? There are many. Like let's say like there are, baseball is a mental game, right? Jadi emang dari baseball itu mental Hakim jadi kuat ngadepin kayak tantangan gitu, kayak apa namanya? Let's say I'm struggling like hitting or fielding, and from that I learned to not give up. Jadi emang jiwa pantang menyerahnya juga ada dari baseball gitu kalau buat Hakim.
Oke, terima kasih Hakim. Berarti memang mungkin lebih kepada mentalitasnya, the mentality that baseball has helped you forge.
Iya.
Mungkin juga mentalitas kayak there's always another at bat, kayak you don't have to give up. Oke. Kalau Jerry mungkin?
Mungkin kalau dari saya teamworknya. baseball kan itu olahraga yang tim dan nggak bisa walaupun saat kita mukul kita sendiri, tapi saat jaga kita barengan dan kita mukul pun untuk teman kita. Gimana caranya kita harus mencetak poin gitu. Jadi pada intinya kalau menurut saya apa yang saya pelajari dari baseball itu teamwork-nya sih. Saya bisa untuk saat ini terutama, dan saya rasa Hakim juga sependapat, kita main di PON itu usianya tidak terbatas. Kita main sama senior-senior kita yang usianya bahkan ada yang 40 tahun, ada yang sudah 30 tahun, punya culture yang berbeda-beda, dan sangat menarik bekerja dalam tim yang rentan umurnya sangat jauh. Kita bisa saling belajar aja. Dan benar juga kata Hakim, masalah mentalitas saat bermain, pressure-nya sangat tinggi sih. Kita latihan bisa bagus 100%, waktu tanding belum tentu. Kita bisa mukul bola biasa 70 mph, 80 mph, waktu main belum tentu. Karena kalau kata teman saya sih, baseball itu 90% mental kalau saat main. Kayak gitu. Mungkin Hakim pendapat apa kayak gimana?
Iya benar kata Jerry. Itu emang unik sih. Saya tuh dulu kemarin pas Asian Games sama SEA Games tuh saya main sama beberapa coach saya yang dulu coaching saya pas kecil gitu. Jadi juga keren juga sih, seru juga sih bermain sama mereka yang benar-benar udah pengalaman di kejuaraan-kejuaraan main yang lama dulu. Dan betul kata Jerry, teamwork itu very important karena ya emang kekompakan tim kalau nggak ada, gimana caranya mereka bermain bagus gitu. Kalau satu orang, if one person doesn't do their job, then everyone else bisa hancur gitu. Jadi benar kata Jerry. Betul.
Oke, benar sih. Berarti memang so far yang bisa aku tangkap salah satu pelajaran terbesar dari baseball untuk kalian adalah mentalitas dan juga teamwork. Oke, mungkin itu benar ya. Dan sekarang aku pengen cek dengan Nathan dan juga Daniel. So Nathan and Daniel, we were just talking about how they got started in baseball and how baseball has the lessons baseball has taught them and how it has impacted their lives. And we would also like to hear from you guys, maybe from Daniel first, how you got into baseball and how baseball has impacted your life.
Sure. So I got into baseball as a kid, maybe about 8 years old. I remember it was really interesting to me because as a young child, I could watch baseball on TV, whether the A's or the Giants. So when I was old enough to finally play, I begged my mom to sign me up, which she did. And ever since then, I just looked forward every spring to play. As a kid, it allowed me something to think about, something to dream about, something to work hard and aspire to. The way it's impacted my life, I would say it allowed me to something like a positive outlet, a positive sport to devote my time to. I learned about teamwork. I learned about work ethic, work hard, practice. And I also learned about competition, how you've got to work hard and compete and win, and to be a good teammate and to be a role player, to embrace your role, whether it's a big role or a small role. So I would say that it definitely gave me something to devote my time and energy into.
All right, definitely, yeah. And how about you, Nathan? Oh, and I think we have some of your pictures here.
Yeah, these are the photos I took. These were photos I've taken at recent baseball games the past 2 years I've been to. The first photo was in San Francisco at Oracle Park. It's a beautiful stadium. I highly recommend folks visit if they ever get the opportunity to. This stadium here we're looking at now is at Nationals Park in Washington. Also a beautiful stadium, a new stadium as well. This stadium is National Park again at night. The current stadium we're looking at now is Baltimore, Camden Yards at Baltimore. One of my favorites as well. It's just outside of Washington, D.C. Again, Camden Park Orioles Stadium. And this is a baseball my friend was lucky enough to catch. So up close and personal.
Was that one of the home run balls that game?
No, I think it was just a foul ball. We were sitting in the foul third baseline.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. Home run balls are too unique, too special.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they look very interesting. I would definitely love to visit one of the baseball parks and actually attend the game. And but what about you, Nathan? How about you? How did you get into baseball and how it has impacted your life?
Yeah, so I started playing baseball when I was about 11 years old, which was a long time ago. I started playing because I was too small for American football and too short for basketball. So I just started with baseball. And, you know, like a lot of kids, we had our summer break in school and you don't have anything to do, you know, before your parents make you start working. So we would, you know, get teams together with friends and we'd play together all summer. And the good thing about baseball is you can be short, tall, fat, skinny, and there's a spot for you usually. So that made it even among kids. So these photos, so this is Safeco Field, which is for the Seattle Mariners. So I'll show you guys my shirt, Seattle Mariners, which is my home team. I'm from the Seattle area in Washington State. They're not a very good team, but they're fun to root for. And this was actually a game. Oh, this game is from a few years ago. But in any case, you know, they look the same as, as Daniel's photos, but each baseball stadium and each baseball park has its own personality and feel, and it's really interesting. Here we go. This is at the Nationals game in Washington, D.C. And these two guys were very enthusiastic and you know, they visited the beer vendor more than they probably should have. And then this is also at National Stadium. And then maybe if there's a next one, sorry to show you guys the same photos. This is me and my dad just 3 weeks ago on Father's Day. We went to a game in Seattle. We saw the Mariners. So that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, oh, and sorry, before I go on to my story, this is a minor league baseball stadium. So as Hakeem and Jerry know, but a lot of people might not, there's the major leagues, which are the huge stadiums, and then there are the minor leagues, who are people who are trying to play and improve until they get into the major leagues. So they're usually these professional teams in small towns, and those are some of the best baseball games, and it's one of the best experiences. And so you're super close to the field. It's just like a big picnic. You just sit and eat. It's great. But to talk more about me, which is my favorite subject, yeah, so I played baseball from when I was about 11 years old all the way through high school. And I played in a very competitive high school. We had a couple of my teammates went on to play in the major leagues, which was pretty neat. But I guess, you know, looking back on it now, one of the most important lessons I think I learned from baseball, and most people learn, is you learn how to fail. It kind of goes back to what, you know, Hakeem and Jerry said. You know, you can't give up. You have to be resilient, because even the best hitters, you know, they only, you know, get a hit, you know, 1 out of 3 times at best. So it's a great sport to teach you humility, to teach you resilience, and then of course teamwork. And you know, it's America's game, and it's plays an important role in U.S. culture and in a lot of people's lives. And it's one of those games that many generations enjoy. So I grew up going to baseball games with my grandparents who loved the Seattle Mariners. They would go after they retired. They lived in Seattle, but would travel to Arizona every spring to go to spring training in Peoria, Arizona for the Mariners. So they were huge fans. So it's something that, you know, families do together, and the tradition of, you know, rooting for a team is something that's passed to generations, kind of like football in a lot of other countries.
All right, I see. Yeah, and I've also heard that like baseball is always around all summer. It's one of the I think it's one of the only sports that's around all summer. So yeah, it's since people are mostly at home during summer, so that's why a lot of people watch baseball too. And now I would like to move on to our next point here, and I would like to ask, now that I know that Hakim and Jerry, they're both professional players for their country and also their provinces, that I would also like to ask you, Nathan, and also Daniel, your experiences playing varsity, playing for college, maybe or for your school, and maybe we'll start with Daniel. How was your experience in playing in varsity compared to maybe, I don't know, Little League, maybe? I mean, of course, the difference is there, but how do you approach it?
Sure. So in Little League were my better years. Varsity, the competition got greater. So we definitely had kids that had played consistently and trained a lot and were ready for the next level in college. So varsity was a little tougher for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'll close the yearbook, but I remember more situational roles in varsity. Nathan brought up a good point, how baseball is a game of failure. There's a lot of humility. Varsity was definitely more into situational, embracing your role. I was coming in to do base running and just for defense more so than, you know, being a starter. But it was something I embraced, I enjoyed, and I mean, I kept up the energy with the team and kept the enthusiasm up. But it was definitely, that's when the humility got to me, and in that it wasn't as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, yeah, the competition, of course, got greater because, you know, they're about to go to college and then they maybe have the draft in mind. But yeah, I think that's baseball. But and how about you, Nathan?
Yeah, so as people may or may not know from movies and television, high school sports in the United States can be very, very competitive. So, you know, millions of kids are playing baseball every year in high school. And to be those people that are good enough to play in college, like Hakeem is doing right now, is a very, very small group of people. So you have to work very hard and be very talented. So I played in a high school where there were a lot of very good players. So in Washington State, my junior and senior year of high school, I was able to play in the state championship game both years. We lost both years, which was a bummer. But on those teams, especially my junior year, I was the worst player on that team, the worst starter. Everybody else, all other 8 starters, went to play Division I baseball or professional. So they were very, very good. And it was just fun to be a part of that. You know, you can tell, you know, hard work is the most important thing. But then once you get to a certain level, it's just talent and, you know, hand-eye coordination that God gives you or doesn't. So, you know, that goes back to the humility thing. You learn to be, you know, an important team player, as Daniel mentioned, right? You don't get to be the all-star. You don't get to be the LeBron James. You get to help out and help win and do your best. And that's something, you know, that kind of humility and understanding where you fit in is something that's, you know, helped me the rest of my career professionally and otherwise. So yeah, it's been great that way.
Yeah, I mean, the stories, your story and also Daniel's, is sort of similar. And I mean, I also know that from the movies, it looks like the high school sports can be competitive. I just didn't know that it will actually be this competitive. Just out of curiosity, what positions do you guys play? Maybe Daniel first.
Sure, I played shortstop and center field, and then second base at times as needed, as requested.
And Nathan?
Yeah, I played shortstop and third base. So those are, the infield positions. Yeah.
Infield.
Because I wasn't fast enough to play center field like Daniel, I think.
All right, thank you very much. And now we'll move on to Hakim and Jerry. So Hakim and Jerry, gimana rasanya kalian sebagai pemain profesional untuk provinsi, untuk negara? Aku pengen tanya gimana rasanya kalian bermain untuk mewakili Indonesia dan juga mewakili provinsi kalian. Mungkin dari Jerry dulu, gimana kalian approach setiap game sebagai pemain provinsi dan juga pemain Indonesia?
Jadi kalau boleh cerita sedikit nih, dulu itu waktu masih zaman-zaman saya SMP, SD, dan SMA, itu ada namanya Asia Pacific Tournament, mungkin juga Hakim ngalamin. Di mana Indonesia tuh selalu partisipasi. Tim-timnya ada Hong Kong, Filipina, Guam, Saipan. Dan saya waktu itu belum banyak tuh orang dari Bandung ikutan tim Indonesia kecil lah ya, sebutannya mungkin ya. Dan tiap tahun saya rutin tuh ngikutin Asia Pacific Tournament, tim Indonesia juga, tapi yang usianya masih di usia minor, major, dan usia-usia SMP dan SMA lah, kayak gitu. Sebenarnya sudah terasa dari dulu main untuk Indonesia atau main untuk provinsi itu bebannya lebih berat. Maksudnya apa yang kita representasikan, harapan orang lain yang orang lain taruh ke kita, atau itu kan melalui pencoretan ya, dan kita sebagai pemain harus menunjukkan kita pantas untuk dipilih gitu. Dan proses itu tuh nggak sebentar, prosesnya panjang. Kita bisa latihan kurang lebih 1 tahun, kayak gitu. Dan dari kecil, waktu itu latihannya selalu di Jakarta. Dari kecil saya ingat banget waktu saya SMP, kelas 1 SMP, kelas 2 SMP, saya selalu pulang pergi Jakarta hari Jumat sampai dengan Minggu. Nginep di Jakarta sendiri. Sama teman saya waktu itu Adis juga ikutan, teman saya. Kita pulang pergi ke Jakarta kurang lebih hampir 5 bulan, 6 bulan, tiap weekend kita ke Jakarta gitu. Kita mengorbankan hal-hal yang masih disenengin, kayak misalkan nongkrong sama teman-teman, jalan-jalan, pergi ke mana, ke mall, atau kayak gimana. Kita mengorbankan itu gitu. Untuk cuma bisa main baseball. Kayak gitu, dan it's worth it. Apa yang saya lakukan, saya rasa itu sangat worth it gitu. Kayak gitu. Terus mungkin kalau waktu PON, ini PON kedua saya, PON pertama saya waktu 2016, kurang lebih saya baru masuk kuliah waktu itu. Paling menarik sih mungkin lawan Hakim ya. Lawan Lampung. Waktu itu mainnya di Jawa Barat tuh, di Bandung. Di Arca Manik tepatnya. Saya dari tim Jawa Barat sudah leading, sudah menang duluan dari skor, dan di inning-inning terakhir kita kalah lawan Lampung. Tapi yang perlu di-highlight adalah perasaan ketika saya kalah gitu. Tim saya kalah. Dan itu adalah kesalahan tim. Walaupun ada kesalahan lempar, ada kesalahan nangkap, ada kesalahan mukul, tapi itu kesalahan tim. Ketika kita melakukan kesalahan itu ditanggung sama tim. Bukan ditanggung sama diri kita sendiri gitu. Dan perasaan ketika kalah itu, waktu itu saya nangis. Jarang banget saya nangis, cuman karena kalah baseball, terus nangis gitu kan. Saya latihan setahun bareng sama tim saya, terus kita hanya bisa membuktikan mungkin cuman 7-10 hari gitu. kan gamenya kurang lebih cuma 7-10 hari kalau PON itu. Kayak gitu. Dan ketika kita keluar dari lapangan, penonton Jawa Barat waktu itu lagi penuh-penuhnya karena gamenya seru banget lawan Lampung. Keluar, terus penontonnya tetap ngasih aplaus buat kita. Ngasih aplaus. Mereka melihat perjuangan kita dari awal sampai akhir, proses kita latihan, hasil kalah menang ya namanya juga kadang kita bilang bonus ya. Kalah menang itu bonus. Yang penting kan prosesnya seperti apa gitu. Dan I promise I will beat Hakim di PON 2021. Kayak gitu aja ya, mungkin pengalaman di baseball kayak gitu.
Oke, terima kasih Jerry. That was a great story. Dan mungkin dari cerita itu juga ada pelajaran lain juga yang bisa diambil mungkin, berarti karena memang untuk bisa masuk to play on a higher level, tidak hanya di level sekolah, tidak hanya di level club mungkin, but to play on a higher level for your province or for your country, there needs to be sacrifices that you have to make. And you did that, and you were able to play for your province and also your national team. So maybe that's another story that we can take from, another lesson that we can take from your story. Terima kasih Jerry, and now we'll move to Hakim. Hakim, mungkin gimana? How do you feel about playing for your province, for your country?
Kalau saya sih emang jujur dari kecil itu saya ngelihat coaches saya, terus ada senior saya yang main untuk timnas, main untuk PON, untuk daerah gitu. Itu emang pas dari kecil sih udah terpesona banget ya. Jadi emang dulu cita-cita Hakim ya itu main di PON, terus main di untuk timnas juga. Dan itu juga nggak gampang sekali. Hakim kan juga sebetulnya main di luar, sekarang lagi di Amerika mainnya kan. Dan itu perjalanan dari awal dari Indonesia baru-baru main itu sampai ke Amerika tuh emang panjang banget. Dan ya kalau dibilang susah ya susah, tapi kalau menurut Hakim sih ya bisa aja. Soalnya menurut Hakim, Jerry juga bisa bilang nih, soalnya banyak sih talenta orang-orang Indonesia yang sebetulnya mereka tuh pemain baseball bagus talentnya, tapi ya itu aja sih, kurang ada kurang ada ada supportnya deh, support dari luar kayak dari orang tua untuk untuk yang ngejar cita-cita itu bermain baseball di luar atau enggak di timnas, soalnya juga ya susah kan, harus ada sekolah juga, ada hal-hal yang lain yang tidak bisa dikontrol. Tapi pokoknya sih kalau buat Hakim ya cita-cita Hakim dulu emang untuk mau main untuk PON sama timnas dan juga main college baseball. Dan itu pas Hakim pertama kali main PON tuh bener-bener ya kayak Jerry bilang tadi, atmosfernya bener-bener gila, suara kenceng, pokoknya semua pada sorak-sorak. Yang Jerry bilang game lawan Jabar, pas Hakim main untuk Lampung dan game lawan Jabar itu ya emang bener-bener seru. Itu 5-2, inning terakhir 5-2, kita lagi udah 2 mati, terus batter kita 2 strike, udah 2 strike, dan ya Jabar juga ya emang ada kesalahan di Jabar sih, tapi itu kalau Jerry bilang mereka kalah nangis, kita juga sebenarnya nangis juga sih, soalnya emang pride-nya untuk daerah tuh benar-benar ditimbulkan gitu, gara-gara emang latihannya berlama-lama, tesnya lama-lama, proses seleksinya lama-lama juga, dan itu juga nggak sembarangan sama sekali. Emang susah itu untuk bermain untuk timnas sama tim daerah itu. Saya juga ngerasain sih sama pas Asian Games. Kita Asian Games lawan Korea, lawan Cina Taipei tuh ya emang apa levelnya jauh banget ya. Soalnya kita kalah lawan mereka 15-0 dua-duanya. Dan tapi ya atmosfernya itu lagi. Jadi banyak penonton yang benar-benar dukung kita, dan walaupun kita hasilnya nggak bagus banget, tapi ya rasa bangga untuk ngebela ya nama Indonesia di dada kita tuh emang kerasa banget gitu. Dan ya itu sih kemarin yang Nathan dan Daniel mereka bilang bahwa di Amerika malah lebih gila lagi. Jadi kalau pengalaman saya sih juga kayak gitu. Jadi saya ke Kanada tuh pernah pas SMA untuk ke Baseball Academy, dan saya tuh termasuk kecil di sana. Padahal di sini udah mulai termasuk ya normal sih badan saya, dan mereka tuh ngelemparnya sampai 85 mph ke atas, mereka mukul home run gampang banget, dan itu saya sebetulnya juga diuji juga mental saya, soalnya ya saya bisa yang saya bilang tadi itu nggak bisa pantang menyerah. Dan Nathan bilang tentang baseball is a game of failure, emang benar juga. It really, like, what matters is how you overcome that failure, pretty much. But jadi di Kanada itu saya benar-benar harus catch up, dan emang bakal susah, tapi saya ya jalanin aja gitu. Jadi belajar baseball dari sana lumayan bagus ya, dan alhamdulillah gara-gara itu juga bisa diterapkan di PON kemarin itu dan di Asian Games gitu. Jadi pengalaman pokoknya bangga banget deh jadi pemain timnas dan pemain daerah itu, dan seru gitu.
Okay, thank you, Hakim. That was a great story as well, story of perseverance. And now I wish I had seen that Lampung and Jabar game because it sounds so great.
You should.
Okay. Yeah, I wish. And now, earlier, you guys mentioned that you have been playing baseball since you were little, and so did Nathan and Daniel. And now I would like to ask you guys some questions. One issue in Major League Baseball, especially maybe in America, is that not a lot of young people are fans of the sport or are playing the sport. So I would like to ask, nowadays, from your experience, how is the youth participation in baseball? Maybe from Nathan first.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, there is. They say that baseball in the United States is facing a demographics problem because the fans tend to be older. Younger kids are playing other sports. Baseball kind of highlights aren't as good on TikTok as, basketball and football and soccer and all that. So yeah, that is a bit of an issue in the United States. I mean, we still have, stadiums of 60,000 people full, paying lots of money. Major League Baseball players, the best of them, make over $20 million a year. So it's still a very successful, spectacle, but you are correct. Like, younger kids aren't playing as much as they used to. But on the other hand, it's also becoming a much more international sport in the United States. So that's why I think it's getting more interesting. There have always been a lot of players from Latin America and the Caribbean, right? But there are just more and more, some of the best players. Then in the last 10, 15, 20 years, there have been a lot of more players from Asia, specifically Japan and South Korea. And then also, some from Australia. So while the percentage of Americans and kids playing baseball isn't as big a percentage as it was before, it's also becoming a more international game. So when I was growing up, almost all of the players, probably 90% of them were from the United States, which is fine. You didn't think about it. But now you go and, it's like the United Nations on every team. Like people are from all over the world. And as Hakeem knows, in the United States, college baseball can be very serious, and Americans take it very seriously. But the Latinos from Latin America and the Caribbean, they have a much more energetic, kind of fun-loving attitude towards baseball. So it's fun to watch them as well. So yeah, it's a problem, but it's also an opportunity, I think.
All right, thank you, Nathan. And Daniel, maybe what do you think about youth participation?
Sure, I
Maybe
think there's also
specifically in the Bay Area.
I think there's a lot of competition too from other sports, like Nathan mentioned, but also like things like the internet, video games. People, I think a lot of people maybe stay indoors now. As a kid, I like to stay outside. So I think there's competition from video games, internet, different culture. And then one of the challenges with baseball is that you need a team to play. It's not like basketball where you can play in small groups or play by yourself. Baseball, you need a structure and a league, a lot of times a league, but definitely like equipment. You need a decent field. So it's not as easy to pick up if you don't have the infrastructure and team and coaching around you. I think that's a contributing factor as to the demographic shift that you guys highlighted. But Nathan touched on a good point, though, that with the challenges in America of the demographic shift and less people being interested, perhaps, it creates a new opportunity with a lot of people from Latin America bringing a different energy to the game. I watched the All-Star game last night, and it's quite a few Latino players, and a lot of them are smiling, they're talking, they're wearing jewelry, they bring a different energy to the game, which I think is unique, and it adds a different flavor. And the game evolves, so we should be open to change as well.
Yes, definitely. And now I'd like to ask Hakim and Jerry, kalian sebagai yang memang sudah main baseball dari kecil, sekarang sudah main lama, gimana kalian melihat anak-anak muda sekarang, regenerasinya gitu mungkin ya, yang bermain baseball lagi di Indonesia? Karena mungkin kalau di kita kan tetap baseball mungkin tidak sepopuler sepak bola. Mungkin dari Jerry dulu.
Di baseball sebenarnya,
Silakan, Jer.
kalau dari regenerasi baseball sendiri sebenarnya sudah cukup banyak ya. Tapi memang semenjak adanya COVID, mostly semuanya berhenti gitu. Tapi buktinya PON tetap lanjut. Terus kemarin kita ada friendly match, itu juga tetap lanjut gitu. Sebenarnya regenerasinya cukup banyak. Mungkin tidak sebanyak sepak bola, volley, atau bulu tangkis mungkin ya. Tapi sebenarnya sudah cukup banyak. Karena sejak saya main aja, kurang lebih tahun 2004-2006, saya main waktu SD gitu. Dan waktu itu di Bandung tuh baru pembinaan usia dini. Kita sebut itu pembinaan usia dini. Dan makin sekarang tuh makin banyak, bahkan lebih banyak kejuaraan untuk usia dini dibanding senior-seniornya. Kayak gitu. Tapi memang kendalanya adalah ketika kita senior, ketika kita sudah lulus SMA aja, banyak pemain-pemain yang berhenti gitu. Banyak pemain yang berhenti, entah karena mereka pikir ini bukan profesi, atau ini adalah profesi tapi tidak menjanjikan. Banyak pertimbangannya, banyak concern-nya. Dan kalau menurut saya, baseball ini harus jadi suatu industri di Indonesia. Harus bisa kita jual. Biar regenerasi-regenerasi yang sudah dibangun ini tidak berhenti sampai di sana aja. Setelah lulus SMA, udah tuh bubar. Jangan sampai seperti itu gitu. Gimana caranya baseball ini bisa menjadi tontonan banyak orang dan diperkenalkan ke masyarakat luas gitu. Kalau menurut saya tantangannya di sana sih. Karena kalau anak-anak kecilnya bahkan dari mereka usia 5 tahun itu banyak banget di Indonesia. Ya tapi yang disayangkan itu gitu. Setelah mereka merasa kadang-kadang jatuhnya jadi tempat penitipan anak ya. Kayak gitu. Ya, jadi sayang sih ketika mereka melihat ini tidak ada masa depan, mereka tinggalkan. Padahal kalau menurut saya, ya masa depan mah gimana kitanya membangun aja ya. Gimana kita membawa skill-skill kita ke arah yang oke gitu. Kayak gitu. Jadi kalau usul saya sih, tantangannya mungkin buat pengurus-pengurus yang ada di Indonesia, ya jual ini sebagai industri gitu.
Oke, betul. Terima kasih Jerry. Itu sebuah insight yang menarik untuk baseball Indonesia. Mungkin nanti kita ke Hakim.
Kalau saya sih sama kayak Jerry sih sebetulnya. Similar, maksudnya kayak saya setuju sih memang baseball untuk anak-anak kecil tuh sekarang udah banyak. Dulu tuh perasaan pas Jerry sama saya masih kecil tuh turnamen-turnamen tuh nggak sebanyak sekarang ya, Jer. Tapi ya itu gimana caranya ngejual baseball itu sebetulnya sesuatu yang bisa mereka pegang buat masa depan mereka gitu. Soalnya kalau dibilang sih angkatan saya yang dulu main baseball sama saya pas kecil tuh sekarang udah nggak ada sih yang main baseball di daerah mau di mana, perasaan paling cuma ada kayak 1 orang atau 2 orang yang masih main baseball yang seangkatan saya gitu. Kalau sama Jerry juga seangkatan Jerry juga nggak banyak juga. Padahal dulu tuh tim-tim di Bandung tuh dulu pas masih kecil tuh sebetulnya bagus-bagus semua. Kalau menurut saya sih tentang baseball dijual jadi industri sih bisa, tapi saya pikir sih juga kita juga bisa minta bantuan gitu dari luar. Serasa kayak mungkin tim-tim scout dari MLB atau dari Jepang atau Korea gitu yang bisa bantu. Soalnya banyak tuh yang dari Filipina, bantuan dari Amerikanya juga banyak. Pakistan juga bantuan dari luar juga banyak, dan mereka pas di Asian Games totalnya peringkat 5 gitu dari yang lain. Pokoknya negara-negara lain sih juga dapat bantuan ya dari negara yang benar-benar baseballnya hidup gitu. Jadi kenapa kita nggak bisa? Gitu aja sih. Jadi emang harus ada cara untuk itu dapat bantuan juga dari luar, dan juga harus ada sih yang buktiin untuk membuktikan bahwa baseball itu emang ada masa depannya. Kayak saya juga mau buktiin juga gitu, soalnya ya saya sekarang main di Amerika dan perjalanan saya ya emang banyak gitu, tapi saya awalnya itu dari Indonesia. Jadi emang saya sendiri emang mau nunjukin bahwa orang-orang Indonesia tuh juga bisa main baseball di Amerika dan dapat scholarship segala macam. Dan soalnya saya juga dapat scholarship di sana. Gitu aja sih.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Hakim. There was also an interesting take on the youth participation in baseball, and now we'll move on to the main event here, All-Star Week, Major League Baseball. Did you guys see the All-Star game? What are your thoughts on it? Nathan?
I didn't see the All-Star game live because I have a 3-year-old and I don't have control over my hours. Otherwise, I would have drank coffee and stayed up and watched it. But I watched highlights, and it was it looked like it was super interesting, right? It was kind of low scoring, right? It was
Yeah.
5-2 or something. Usually, not usually, I don't know. I'm old. Back when I used to watch it every single year like a religion, it seemed to be, very high scoring, that, balls would fly out all over the place. But they're trying hard this time. But, I know we're going to talk about him later, but, it was fun watching Otani, being the leadoff hitter and the starting pitcher for the American League. The home run from Guerrero, who ended up being MVP, was huge. I remember watching his dad play. That he was really good and fun to watch. It seemed like they really cared about it, right? And oftentimes, like in the NBA and Major League Baseball, the All-Star games have a history of the players just kind of, showing up and posing and all, and being there to enjoy and have a good time, but not taking it very seriously. But it looks like it was very competitive, which is always fun for the fan.
Yeah, true. And you brought a good point about low scoring, because they were playing in Coors Field, and that should not be a low scoring game. And what about you, Daniel?
So I thought, I did catch the game. I thought it was really good. It was good. There was one point in which there's a lot of suspense, I think in the 8th inning, in which the National League had loaded the bases. And instead of seeing like the 7th or 8th hitter, no offense to the 7th and 8th hitters, but you have an all-star team, so you could feel that sense of suspense. I think the player ultimately flied out, but it was just cool to see the fact that like the rosters are loaded. These are the best of the best, and you're getting a top tier reliever on the American League, trying to get the put out. But I thought the game was interesting, and they are trying to make it more modern. They had things like they were speaking to Fernando Tatis Jr. during his at bat, which I thought was interesting. They're also speaking to him on the field, which was interesting because usually they'll talk to guys in between innings, but the fact that they're talking to them on the field of play was really unique. To me, I don't want to say it was a bit too much, but I know they're trying to appeal to evolve for the fan base. The one point that I thought was interesting was the swift backlash regarding the uniforms. There were navy blue uniforms that were not well received at all. I think people would prefer. Yeah, they would have preferred the home whites and road grays like traditional. So I thought that was funny. I may drop off and switch back to Zoom just to let you guys know I'm running out of battery on my phone. So I may hop back in, okay?
Got it, Daniel. Thank you. And how about Hakim and Jerry? Kalian sempat nonton All-Star Game-nya atau lihat highlights? Mungkin dari Hakim?
Kalau saya sih, saya nonton highlights-nya sih, tapi saya malah tertarik home run derby-nya. Soalnya
home run derby juga mana?
Iya, soalnya kan kemarin tuh home run derby-nya di MLB.com bisa langsung nonton free gitu. Tapi kalau All-Star Game tadi pagi kan itu All-Star Game-nya. Jadi susah searching-nya, tapi ini aja sih kalau saya ya kemarin home run derby-nya keren, kayak Otani sama Soto seri 2 kali terus sampai jadi 2 kali tie break, sorry. Dan itu Pete Alonso itu Pete Alonso kan udah ada pengalaman tuh 2019 kan, karena dia menang. Dari dia sama orang-orang lain tuh beda banget, kayak dia pokoknya groove-nya ada, terus pas mukul juga santai-santai aja, yang lainnya kayak pokoknya kayak hands up gitu sama a bit rush jadinya gitu aja sih, seru kemarin.
Oke, thank you Hakim. Jerry?
Nonton sih enggak, soalnya saya lagi latihan juga kayak gitu. Tapi Saya udah lihat recapnya juga. Terus kalau perhatian orang Indonesia saat ini kayaknya lagi ke Ohtani ya. Ya Guerrero juga dia MVP-nya kan ya waktu All-Star. Waktu All-Star game. Ya, tapi perhatian tuh kayaknya lagi ke Ohtani deh sekarang ya. Apalagi nggak tahu sih, saya scroll di Instagram di mana-mana kayak showtime ya. Emang menarik sih, maksudnya mungkin di musim lalu Ohtani tidak se-booming itu. Terus ngelihat di musim sekarang jarang banget sih pitcher yang bisa home run. Sekarang dia home run-nya 33 atau 34 ya? 3 ya sekitar segituan ya.
Sekitar 30.
Seorang pitcher juga dan bukan reliever pitcher, starting pitcher, terus mukulnya juga bagus gitu. Terus home run-nya sekarang dia leader kan ya. Di home run-nya.
Betul.
Itu keren banget sih. Kalau buat saya maksudnya kan katanya ada yang nyamain sama Babe Ruth ya. Sama rekornya.
Ya, karena two-way player juga, sama-sama two-way player.
Iya. Kalau menurut saya All-Star Game yang kemarin American kan yang menang ya?
Yes.
Ya.
American
League yang menang. Ya, mungkin saya nonton recap-nya aja sih. Tapi saya sekarang lagi ngikutin Ohtani sih. Soalnya dilihat-lihat attitude-nya juga keren juga gitu. Dia kayak ngambilin bola gitu.
Ya.
Gitu sih.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. And now I have a quick question for everyone. Shohei Ohtani. What do you think about Shohei Ohtani while we're on the subject? Maybe Jerry has expressed his opinions about Shohei Ohtani. Maybe we'll ask Daniel now. What do you think of Shohei Ohtani?
I think it's great for the game that he's playing both pitcher and he's a stud hitter as well. It's going to draw fans, and then it also draws fans from East Asia, Japan, I'm sure across Asia. So I like it. Anything to get more energy in the game, I think is a positive. I have heard challenges that the fact that he has a translator is sometimes challenging, but nothing's perfect, and I think you need to expand the game any way possible.
All right, thank you. What about you, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, because I kind of follow sports casually in the United States, that I don't think, I think that he is a two-way player, meaning he pitches and he hits at the major league level as a designated hitter, is so special and so rare, and it hasn't happened in decades and decades. And I feel like it's such a big deal that it should be more important in the sports world than it is. I don't know why it is. Maybe because he's plays for the from the Anaheim. What do they call them now? The Angels, right?
Yes,
and that's not one of the big teams. If he played for your team, Anton, if he played for the Yankees, it'd be this huge publicity machine, and he would be, as famous as Messi right now, maybe. But yeah, it's just something that the game of baseball hasn't seen at that high level in so long. They say Babe Ruth, there've been people who've done it since, and then back in the 80s and 90s, we had players who played professional baseball and professional American football, 2 of them, or 3 actually, which was amazing, and that was such a big deal. But I think what Ohtani's doing right now is even more impressive, and it's just such an amazing, cool thing. And in my personal opinion, I think it's so cool that he comes from another country and does it. I don't know why. For some reason, that just makes it more fun and interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And what about you, Hakim?
Well, actually, I think Ohtani is actually bringing baseball more towards the Asian. Like, even though it's not as big in the U.S. as it should be compared to like NBA, NFL, but I think Ohtani is really good to market baseball in Asia in general. Because I mean, I haven't seen this much reposts about Otani from people in Indonesia, or like any baseball related stuff, any baseball repost stories from Instagram or Twitter or whatever, until like now when he's actually starting to do good. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm just amazed at the fact that he can just hit. Like, I knew coming in he could do it, but I didn't know he would be this good. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, thank you very
I
much.
have one further point is I hope he can sustain it. I know
Yeah.
I think he spent a lot of time on the injured list last year. I think from his pitching shoulder.
Yeah, he got Tommy
Yes,
John,
he did.
so he was out for the rest of the season because he got surgery on his elbow.
Mhm.
But
So
yeah,
I hope he can sustain it, because when there's a guy that talented and he goes that like viral, you want to see him succeed. The only irony is that he's for the rival Angels, but since they have no pitching, I'm not too concerned yet. But between him and
Yeah.
Mike Trout, they have a pretty formidable lineup, and Anthony Rendon as well. So.
Yeah, that's true. And before we get to the Q&A session, because we already have a lot of questions from our audience, I would like to ask your opinions on some of the more controversial issues on MLB. And two main issues that I'm going to ask you guys are about the Houston Astros scandal and also the unwritten rules. So maybe just give us your quick opinions and thoughts, maybe starting from Daniel.
Sure. So first things first, I'm an A's fan, as I previously may have stated. So I don't think much of the Houston Astros. I think the whole cheating scandal, the fact that they use technology, it's kind of pushed the envelope further. I mean, they were told explicitly to stop doing it, and they continued to use technology, and it ultimately won the year that they won the World Series. So it does create a little bit of a stain on their championship. Some people call them the Houston Asterisks. I don't, but some people do. Additionally, I think they also got really lucky in that the first year back from winning the championship, the coronavirus kept fans out of the stadium, so they didn't feel the brunt of their. They didn't feel like the negative feedback and criticism from winning the title. So I think they escaped in that regard as well. So, not a fan, basically.
Got it. And what about unwritten rules? Maybe in the case of that infamous Tatis Grand Slam. What's your take on it?
For somebody like Tatis, I like his energy, and baseball is a team sport. So when they see individuals celebrating too much, smiling too much, showing too much enthusiasm, the older generation looks down upon it. But I think that you got to invigorate the game with new blood, new energy, and new life. And so if it takes a bat flip, a helmet toss, stomping on the plate, watching your home run fly, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, as long as people are drawn to the game. So the bigger part of unwritten rules, the bigger question I think is really interesting, because it's the push and pull of like the old generation versus the new generation. The unwritten rules, the fact that we even have unwritten rules, it's like we police ourselves. It's what somebody tells you after the fact. So it's kind of interesting, but that's what makes the game interesting and fun, is that, if you broke an unwritten rule, the game will quote unquote police itself. So it's always interesting when, a veteran will school a younger player, or the other opposing pitcher will like throw a pitch maybe too close to the batter. I mean, the game has its way of policing itself. So unwritten rules are a really interesting facet of the game that you don't get in other sports.
Yes, that's true. It's a part of baseball. And what about you, Nathan? What do you think of these two controversial issues?
So on the unwritten rules part, baseball is a game of traditions, especially in the United States. It's been played for 150 years, maybe. maybe longer. So there is this sense of respect for the past and how things used to be done. And that's a lot where the unwritten rules came from. But I remember when I was playing way back in the day, these unwritten rules meant that each player and each team was so reserved to the point of it being boring and subdued. And I am all for, as I said earlier, all for these new kind of cultures, especially the Latino guys tend to be really into it. I think it's super fun. And there was this baseball player, or he's still a baseball player for the Phillies when he played for the Astros, Bryce Harper, who is not a nice guy, I would say. So he's not my favorite person in the world. He's kind of a jerk. But one of the hats he wore, and one of the things I remember he talked about a lot was saying, make baseball fun again, because it does have this tendency as a game to get very, very serious. And fans, players take it very, very seriously, and you don't want to take all the fun out of it. And then if you compare it to the other major sports where there's taunting and trash talking, and in the NBA and basketball, if you dunk on somebody, you walk over them again. So the baseball unwritten rules are so reserved that it kind of doesn't allow enough personal expression, right? So I think that, it's time for them to evolve. As for the Astros, that cheating was shameful. Yeah. I mean, it happens in every sport, bicycle racing, Tour de France, all that sort of thing. But it was so blatant. I still can't believe they got away with it for so long. It's just crazy. And, players and coaches move throughout teams. And supposedly this went on for a long time. So there would be players or coaches who went to other teams. And so people, I guess, knew this was going on. So it's just wild. On the other hand, the Houston Astros have been terrible for decades. So I'm sure they were desperate to win some games. So, what can you say? Maybe if the Mariners were the ones that cheated and got a World Series, I wouldn't feel so bad about it. Maybe they should, because they're not so good. But yeah, it's funny. But it polices itself, as they say. As Daniel said.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan. And now we'll move to Hakim and Jerry. So the issue here is that Houston Astros was caught cheating. Houston Astros, mereka menggunakan teknologi untuk curang, utamanya untuk mendapatkan pitching signs. Dan juga isu satu lagi adalah tentang unwritten rules di dalam baseball. Mungkin kita mulai dengan Jerry dulu. Pendapatnya gimana, Jerry, tentang dua isu ini?
Mungkin yang tentang Astros ya. Seberapa penting sih kode dari catcher ke pitcher ya, terutama. Itu sangat penting sekali. Jenis bola apa yang dikeluarkan, posisinya ada di mana, itu menentukan hasil pukulannya ntar kemana gitu. Dan yang saya bilang, waktu latihan kita bisa 100%. Karena kita sudah terbiasa dengan pola posisi bola. Biasanya kalau kita latihan, catchernya itu lagi, pitchernya itu lagi, kita udah tahu kira-kira bolanya bakal kemana nih. Soalnya kita ngelawan pitcher yang sama dengan catcher yang sama. Tapi waktu nanti kita tanding, kita nggak tahu pitchernya sekarang, walaupun saya pernah ketemu pitcher Lampung, saya pernah ketemu pitcher DKI, tapi kita nggak tahu perkembangannya sampai sekarang seperti apa gitu. Dan kode dari catcher itu sangat-sangat menentukan. Kalau saya udah tahu bolanya bakal jadi curveball dan di outside, ya saya tungguin aja bolanya. Jauh lebih mudah gitu. Itu sangat memudahkan. Ya, jadi seharusnya apapun yang cheating ya nggak boleh ya. Dan kalau nggak salah dicabut ya juaranya ya?
Sayangnya enggak.
Sayangnya enggak ya? Sayangnya enggak ya? Iya, jadi kalau menurut saya sih, bahkan di hal-hal lain kayak penggunaan drugs, itu kan sangat common ya di olahraga-olahraga. Kalau menurut saya itu juga termasuk cheating gitu. Dan sebaiknya sih, ya kita bermain dengan kemampuan kita aja gitu. Kayak gitu sih.
Oke, mungkin kalau unwritten rules, Jer?
Yang tatis ya?
Iya.
Sama bad flips.
Yep.
Yang pernah saya sering nonton sebenarnya yang bad flip sih. Jadi kan sebenarnya yang saya jelaskan tadi, baseball kalau udah tanding ya 90% mental gitu. Jadi mungkin pemain bakal mengeluarkan energinya gitu sebesar mungkin gitu, dan mungkin kadang-kadang itu jadi over aja gitu, kayak gitu sih. Tapi kalau kita bawa di culture kita aja ya, di Indonesia, kalau misalkan pitcher lempar bola terus kena pemukulnya, pemain kita terbiasa untuk minta maaf gitu. Pemain kita terbiasa untuk minta maaf. Tapi saya pernah main sama ada pemain dari Belanda, terus main di Indonesia waktu itu untuk Asian Games. Jadi bisa sharing ilmu juga. Mereka bilang yang ngapain minta maaf? Ya it's a game gitu. Ya udah gitu. Kalau misalkan lu salah ya nggak usah minta maaf, lakuin yang lebih baik aja. Kayak gitu. Tapi ya itu sih, baseball 90% kalau lagi tanding ya udah mental aja yang main gitu. Jadi gimana caranya kita jatuhin mental orang lain aja mungkin. Kayak gitu sih. Mungkin ya itu trik-trik aja ya, tapi di luar lapangan ya udah. Saya dalam lapangan mungkin sama Hakim nggak ngobrol sama sekali, tapi kalau udah keluar lapangan ya kita biasa lagi gitu. Tapi ya it's a game, kadang-kadang we do anything buat menang gitu. Tapi ya sebisa mungkin kita hindari gesekan yang berlebihan itu yang saya bilang. Jadi perang mental boleh asal jangan berlebihan aja gitu.
Oke, thank you, Jer. Sekarang kita ke Hakim. Gimana pendapatnya tentang dua isu ini?
For Astros, singkat aja. Astros, for me, I think the MLB could have handled it better. The players got away with it. I'm not going to say more about that, but I'm just disappointed how MLB handled it. And I think the manager got a year ban or something, and then he is managing another team or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yep.
For unwritten baseball, he did, right? AJ?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on the Tigers now, I believe.
Yeah. So that's crazy. But in the same time, like, sign stealing has been part of the game, and I actually learned this in my college. We actually relay signs. If we figure out what their fastball is on what sign, if it's like second sign, and fastball is 3, and so we would look at like tendencies, and we would relay them somehow from a guy at second. That's pretty much it. But I think what Astros did, like, relaying signs is good as long as it's not, the Astros use the technology, so that's pretty much cheating. But if you can do it, if the catchers and the pitchers are tipping off their pitches, then why not execute it, right? But in this case, the Astros use technology, so that was the wrong part of it. For unwritten rules in baseball, I've played in 2 different worlds of baseball. I've played in Indonesia. I've played in the States. Very different in terms of what's unwritten rules. In Indonesia, I'm pretty sure there's a guy on Jerry's team who would, if he gets an RBI. Yes, actually, if he gets an RBI, he gets super loud. He showboats. I'm not gonna say what he does because it's just pretty funny. But he pretty much, like, he showboats. He would say, "Let's go!" Like, he would pump up the team. Like, the atmosphere in Indonesia, playing baseball in Indonesia, is different because, like he said, like, if you hit a batter, you say sorry. That's kind of like an Asian way of playing baseball. But if you get a hit, like in South Korea, they do bat flips all the time. They don't even care, you know. Like in the U.S., if you do bat flips, you're gonna get beaten. So with Tatis' home run, with everything else about unwritten rules of baseball, I just say let the kids play. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm part of the younger generation, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I see that's a good note to end on. Advocating the MLB's campaign, let the kids play. Okay, we already have a lot of questions from social media, so I think we should get into them. And the first question is from Sahayata Nation. It's from YouTube. And the question is, tell us the speaker's favorite baseball teams and their favorite moments. So maybe we'll go from Nathan. Favorite team.
All right, Okay, cool. Yeah, favorite team, Seattle Mariners. My favorite moment was when they used to be good. So this was back in the late 1990s, 2000. I think in 2001, the Mariners set the record at the time for the most wins in a season. So those were the glory days. But my favorite moment was in 1996 1996 playoffs. 95. Nobody cares which year. Around then, when Ken Griffey Jr. still played for the Mariners and we were playing the Yankees, and we kept losing to them in the playoffs, but then we beat them, and it was the final play was Ken Griffey Jr. It was a fantastic player, rounding third and scoring at home and going bananas. And that was a lot of fun. I happened to be in Las Vegas in a casino, but I was too young to gamble. I wasn't gambling. It was just fun. And everybody went crazy, and it was a very exciting moment. Yeah, that was it.
All right, awesome. What about you, Daniel?
So I have two moments. I'm gonna one up Nathan on the longest winning streak. I'm a huge Oakland A's fan, especially between the years of 2000 and 2007. In 2002, I believe it was 2002, the A's, or 2003, the A's set the longest consecutive winning streak to 20 games in a row. I was fortunate. My friend had free tickets and just gave me vouchers, stacks on stacks of vouchers, because the A's have a small fan base, a small but passionate fan base. So every year, those few years, I'd go to a lot of the games. I ended up going to maybe 3 or 4 of the 20-game win streak, and I went to the 20th game that they won, broke the record. So that was one of the greatest moments that I've had as a fan. The second moment that I'll remember is in 2006, I believe. The A's played the Tigers in the playoffs, and so I was fortunate to go to the playoff game with my buddy in Oakland. And to this day, I still hate the Detroit Tigers and Justin Verlander because he shut us out. I believe he ended our season in the playoffs 2 or 3 years. And so I remember on the Wikipedia, somebody had changed the Wikipedia site for the Oakland A's and said owner of the team is Justin Verlander. So to this day, I still hate the Tigers. I'll always hate Justin Verlander, as well as the Yankees and the Red Sox and the traditional American League foes. So
yeah. All right, thank you Daniel. Jerry dan Hakim, mungkin dari Hakim dulu. Kalian nonton MLB, tim favoritnya?
Saya nggak ada tim favorit sih, tapi saya ada favorit player. My favorite player is Francisco Lindor. Emang dia kemarin sih lagi nggak main bagus sih ya, tapi saya juga switch hitter, jadi I look up to him gitu. Kalau for favorite moments, I don't think I have an MLB one. Is it okay if I say just a baseball?
Yeah, sure.
Moment?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not trying to brag, but I was the only Indonesian who hit a home run in Asian games, and Jerry can attest to that. So that's my favorite moment pretty much.
All right, of course. Thank you Hakim and Jerry.
Mungkin kalau momen sih saya nggak begitu ini ya. Tapi kalau tim favorit Red Sox kali ya, Boston. Kayak gitu. Dan sebenarnya karena dari dulu entah kenapa saya ngelihat David Ortiz ya. David
Big
Ortiz.
Papi.
Dan entah kenapa kayak ngelihat dia, ya kadang-kadang kita juga punya sosok yang diiniin ya. Sosok yang pengen diikutin lah. Dan sampai gerakan-gerakan juga jadi ikut-ikutan gitu. Kayak gitu.
Oke, kebetulan banget nih ini nyambung dengan kita ada pertanyaan berikutnya dari Muhammad Barokah di YouTube untuk Jerry dan Hakim. If you guys can formulate your play with one player, who would it be? Jerry mungkin tadi Big Papi, atau mungkin ada yang lain, tapi kita ke Hakim dulu kalau gitu, who would it be? Francisco Lindor atau ada yang lain?
What formulate a play?
Yeah.
Formulate a play. Yeah, I'd say Francisco Lindor. I would definitely learn from him. I want to learn from him. So, yeah.
Oke, Francisco Lindor. Jerry mungkin?
Saya selalu pengen mukul jauh sih. Jadi, kalau mukul tuh pengennya jauh terus gitu. Padahal disadari kan mungkin powernya belum cukup atau kontaknya juga belum pas juga gitu. Ya tapi kalau ngelihat David Ortiz main, kan dia big hitter ya.
Yep.
Kayak gitu sih. Jadi ya pengennya sih mukul jauh ya. Kayak gitu.
Oke, kita ada pertanyaan berikutnya dari Raffiandra Putra Andika. So the question is about Shohei Ohtani. Will we see another player like Shohei Ohtani who excels being a two-way player, both pitching and hitting? Is Ohtani just the start? Will we see another wave of two-way players? What's your opinion? Maybe Daniel can go first.
Perhaps Ohtani could pave the way. Right now, it's tough to see because he is so good at both hitting and pitching as a two-way player. It's really tough to predict, but you never know. Maybe players will want to do both or be so good that they can do both. But it's just really hard to predict. But Ohtani definitely he's a unicorn, as they say in other sports. He's just so unique and rare.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Nathan?
Yeah, it's hard to predict if someone's going to be, that skilled again in the future. But one thing that is positive is that he might set an example for young players in the future, because usually, you're forced to choose a specialty, either a fielder and a hitter or a pitcher. But now that, people see the success and that people are able to do both at a high level, maybe there will be more very good athletes trying to do both. So it's possible it could mean more folks like that. But it's again, it's such a special and such a rare thing that he is able to do. It's amazing.
All right, thank you. Jerry? Apakah kita akan melihat pemain lainnya seperti Ohtani?
Sebenarnya sebelumnya ada sih pitcher-pitcher yang mukul home run di MLB juga ya. Tapi mungkin tidak sebanyak Ohtani. Jadi mungkin soon ke depan bakal ada lagi. Kalau menurut saya sih kayak gitu ya. Soalnya sekarang sudah dipecahkan oleh Ohtani dan saya rasa berikutnya ya orang terinspirasi ya.
Ya.
Dan saya yakin deh semua pitcher itu dulunya pasti mukul juga. Rata-rata ya. Karena kan basicnya kita belajar mukul, belajar lempar. Jadi soon saya pikir bakal ada. Kayak gitu.
Oke, Hakim?
Saya juga sama pendapatnya sama Jerry. Saya juga pernah lihat sih teman-teman saya dulu ada yang di college level juga masih mukul dan pitching juga gitu. Jadi ya karena Ohtani udah buktiin, jadi kenapa orang lain nggak bisa gitu. Jadi mungkin kemungkinan sih bisa buat pendapat saya itu.
Oke, thank you Hakim. Kita ada pertanyaan lagi. Mungkin melihat waktunya, mungkin ini pertanyaan terakhir. Since we don't have that much time, maybe this is the last question. The question is, what is your favorite play in MLB history? And we'll go with Nathan first.
Thanks. Really, I don't know. It's a very good question. Can I pass somebody else? I can't think of one off the top of my head. No, I'm just teasing. No, it's a very good question. Picking one thing. I don't know. I'd have to say, even though I don't like them, when it wasn't a play, but it was a moment. You know, when the Boston Red Sox finally won a World Series. They're one of the more historic teams. And I just got so tired of hearing my friends from Boston complain about the Babe Ruth curse and how they hadn't won in so long, that I was just happy it happened. So we didn't have to hear from them complaining anymore.
Okay, maybe that's, definitely not my favorite play, but okay, Daniel, what would be your favorite play in MLB history?
So as a young kid, I grew up a Giants fan. I hate to say that. It's kind of there's a little rivalry around here, but in the Bay Area. But I watched a lot of Giants games as a kid, and there's a very memorable highlight. In 1951, Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world, in which the Giants won the pennant against the Brooklyn Dodgers on the last game of the season with a home run, and it's referred to as the shot heard around the world. And so it was a really unique play. It's on highlights, but I suggest everybody go look it up. It's got a really cool just sound to it and energy, and it also invokes like the whole traditional baseball pastime feel from like the 1950s in New York City, of course.
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Daniel. Maybe we now go to Hakim. What would be your favorite MLB play? If not, maybe your own play
I'd say
that you've been a part of.
I'd say MLB. I'll say something about MLB. I think when I was younger, for some reason, when I used to pitch, I liked how Tim Lincecum pitched in the Giants. Sorry, Daniel. But yeah, so pretty much when he threw no-hitters back-to-back years, I think that's one of the coolest things that he did. And, you know, he has a weird mechanic. So that's what I like about him. So.
All right. Thank you, Hakim. Jerry?
Mungkin saya nggak tahu tepatnya, tapi saya lagi seneng ngelihat Molina ya.
Yadier Molina.
Ya, strong arm gitu. Dia bisa lempar kapan aja dan dalam posisi apa aja gitu. Kok sekarang sih karena saya juga posisinya catcher, saya seneng aja sih ngelihat Molina main gitu. Kayak gitu sih.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Jerry. Dan dengan itu, we are at the end of tonight's program. We are at the end of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And I would like to thank all of our speakers. I would like to thank Daniel, Nathan, Jerry, and also Hakim for participating tonight. We had a great talk. I'm sure that we can talk more about baseball in the future, maybe postseason. And I would like to thank everyone for tuning in as well. And I would give it to our Ad America team.
All right, thank you so much, Mas Anton, Mas Jerry, Mas Hakim, and also Bapak Nathan and Bapak Daniel. We had so much fun tonight, and we are looking forward to have another session with you all in the future. Thank you very much. Now, the rest of you, please don't go anywhere, because earlier in this event, I asked you guys, what was the first professional baseball club in the United States? And the correct answer is B, Cincinnati Red Stockings. And our lucky winner for today is Amarsya Rewindra Ridwan from YouTube. Congratulations. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this event, Ad America is having a very special activity and we're giving out a set of content creator package. And how do you participate? You can participate by expressing yourself through your social media content and use the hashtag #FreeToBeUs. And of course, don't forget to tag our social media account at AT America. For further information, you can visit atam.tv/freetobeus. Now, you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Easy. You can go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, click Create an Event, and collaborate with us. All proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. And while you're on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletters for weekly event updates sent straight to your inbox. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at AT America for event updates, fun content, and so much more. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. All right, everybody, I think that wraps up this episode. It has been really fun, but unfortunately, we have to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.